Hi, welcome to another episode of Beyond Chronic Disease. Early on in the week, I posted a photo of a supermarket had packaged some food for like school lunches for the children. And the one that I posted, I guess, maybe wasn't as bad as some of the other ones, but packets of chips and hot little Frankfurts and all that doesn't equate to a healthy lunch where your child will be able to function for the whole day and sit quietly and listen to all the boring stuff that they teach at school these days, which adds to the hyperactivity of children because they're so damn bored. They just want to do more of what they're here to do. So anyway, I am quite upset by the fact that so many children and children that I know, the parents are being told that they have to have a meeting with them because they've got, ADD, ADHD, however you want to put it. Yes, it's a real thing. No, I don't like how they deal with it, especially with medication of young children. So I'm here to say that what you are giving your children in their lunch boxes may, contribute to your child being batshit crazy at school, along with the way the school in system teaches our children. So one thing I'd like to say is processed foods have got lots of chemicals in them, lots and lots of chemicals. I mean, I've done some research on one particular little packet of things that children love. And I'm not going to say what it is. Anyway, probably get enough trouble as it is. And it's just the amount of crap that's in that food is just disgusting. So here we go. I've got an app. It's called the Chemical Maze app. It was developed by Bill Statham, and Bill was on my podcast early on. You can go back and find him there. He developed it because he realized that there was so many things that were affecting our health. So he researched it and he did the research on all of that and put it onto a really simple app that you can carry around on your phone. We all have phones these days, so there's no excuses for not having this app. And if you can't afford it, I'll pay for it and give it to you, honestly. So just one of the biggest things that can create problems, because I said how I posted on how processed food's making us sick. So just a real simple thing is preservatives. So preservatives are found in lots of things. Well, preservatives, it preserves the food. That's basically what it's there for. Preservatives, number one thing, they're found in wine. So, some, and there's different preservatives, and they're classified under different numbers. So the number 223 is a preservative, and so is number 220. And on the Chemical Maze app, you won't be able to see it on my phone. On the Chemical Maze app, so what you do, because I've got this fake background, I can't show you. Actually, I may be able to show you. I'll put it really close. There you go. Chemical Maze app. You put 220 into the Chemical Maze app. You hit search, and it comes up with a little red face, and it's sulfur dioxide. Okay. So when you tap on that, it says, I'm not going to put this up. It says the risk level is best avoid it. So it has that little red face, and it's a function, it's a preservative. So the potential effects by having this preservative. Now, this 220 is probably, it's quite popular, but it may not be as popular as 223. So we'll go into 223 next. So the potential effects that this can have on your body, and just bear in mind, when people have said over the years to me, oh, but it's only a little bit, we're only having a little bit, but a little bit in everything that you eat equates to a lot. So like I said, these preservatives can be in every single thing that you buy. You know, these preservatives, you know, in your alcohol, in your dried fruits, if you're having dried fruits, in any packaged, a lot of packaged food, it's just in so much. So that's why it's so important for you to look at the labels on the packaged food that you are buying. So getting back to this, so this is on the Chemical Maze app. So you put the number in, and sometimes you can put the words in, because the manufacturers are getting very clever and they're taking numbers off packages and putting words in. So you really have to know what you're looking at. So the potential effects of 220 can be anaphylaxis, asthma, bronchitis. It can destroy vitamin B1, can give you diarrhea, can make you sick. And it actually says it's prohibited in foods for infants. So when something's prohibited in food for infants, it really sends alarm bells for me. Can create stomach upset, suspected liver problems, and respiratory, cardiovascular, neurotoxicity, swelling, symptoms associated with peripheral neuropathy, and there's more. So the possible uses. So that's how it, this is how the app works. So it first comes up with a risk level, and it'll have it's like a traffic light system, red, amber, or green. Then it comes up with the functions, which I told you was a preservative. Then it has the potential effects, and then the possible uses. So it's got here dried fruit and wine. I already knew that because I've done this for years. Other in bleaching agents for paper and textiles, and fungicides. And then it has effects on the body. So I just went through the potential effects of diseases, if you want, and the effects of the body, the cardiovascular system, developmental system, gastrointestinal system, and liver, nervous system, nutritional depletion and malabsorption, and respiratory system. So this is one that, and then it's symptoms and ailments: allergic and hypersensitive reactions, asthma, headache and migraine, skin ailments like eczema, dermatitis, itchy, hives, rash, etc. So this is like one thing that I had an experience with. I've had lots of experiences with lots of these chemicals because I was very sick. So I had probably half a glass of champagne one night, and the next day I felt like I'd had 10 bottles of wine. I felt sick in the stomach. I had a headache. I felt just absolutely awful. And it was the preservative in that champagne that did it. So that's as easy as that. That's as simple as one little preservative made me that sick. So if you're having that and you're getting sick and you're just thinking, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? You go to the doctor and then they'll, prescribe you something, whatever. And it's not really even related to what the problem is. It could be as simple as just having that in your system. Okay, so another preservative is 223. So remember I said the 220 is probably not as popular as the 223. The 223 is found in way more stuff, and it can create the same similar symptoms in your body, and you're having it in lots of different things in your everyday life. And like it could be giving you tremors. It could be, you could be getting migraines, constant headaches, and just thinking that, you've got some problem with your head. It could be giving you fog, brain fog. could be giving your children, I'm getting back to the children because it's just, I could just see it so much. It could be giving your children that, that craziness, and, they can't sit still and so forth. So this is why it's so important that we teach you, that I teach you to have a look at what's in your food. I mean, I even heard it the other day, close friend, her daughter's looking at what's making her child go a little bit more loud and racy in what food they're giving him. So, and I don't know. So I'll go back to years and years and years ago. And I wrote a book, Whole Foods of Facts, and I've put this in my book to a degree that, we've all heard, I'm sure we've all heard about the red cordial, hyperactivity. Don't give your kid red cordial. Oh my gosh. So, and it's the same as what's in food. Okay, so it can still create similar problems, hyperactivity. I'm not saying it's going to, it's the be all and end all for every single child and person in society, but it's a starting point. Like, I always knew when my child had a huge amount of sugar, for instance, one day I remember leaving them with some friends. We came back later that day, and the first thing I said was, how much have you had of this particular soft drink? How much have you had? Because I could tell straight away. And sugar makes kids hypo or hyper, whatever it does. It makes you that way as well. Do you ever, when you have a heap of sugar and then you feel okay for a minute and then you get really, really super tired? So if that happens to us, well, it happens to me if I do that. I mean, what's it doing to your children if you're giving them all this packaged crap and it's got all these chemicals in it? So anyway, I know I'm starting to get a little bit annoyed. Sorry, don't mean to be. So the Chemical Maze app is an amazing thing to have on your phone. So when you're picking up that processed packaged food, you can check to see what the chemicals are that are on it, that on the pack in the ingredients list, that and what the potential side effects or the potential effects are, and steer away from them, because not everybody will suffer the effects of everything in there. Like, everybody is so different. But if there's a potentiality of something happening, like if there's a potentiality of your child getting hyperactive from having this particular stuff, then really, would you give it to them? And giving them that and giving them medication to quieten them down, it just doesn't, it's just creating more problems for you. It might be a short-term solution, but trust me, because I've dealt with this, it won't help you in the long term. Okay, so let's start looking at what's in our food for our kids. And it doesn't take a lot of effort, and it doesn't take a lot of effort or time to give your kids a more nutritious lunch. So your kids will probably hate you for it in the short term, but long term, they will see the benefits. So some of the things so I showed you the Chemical Maze app, and some of the things in the processed foods I'll go through. So I don't know, I've already gone the preservatives. Okay, preservatives are a big deal because they can be very detrimental to your health straight away. So when you've got glucose, I mean, I'm not sure if you all know, but glucose is a sugar, a form of sugar, and our body uses it for energy. So glucose for me would be better to have glucose than to have white sugar, because it's a more natural sugar, glucose. But when it's in processed food, typically it's in the form of dextrose, which is chemically which is the same chemical structure as glucose. But the thing with dextrose is it may be made from corn or wheat. So if you're celiac or even wheat, if you have a wheat intolerance, a wheat allergy, anything to do with wheat, and you see glucose in the processed food, then you need to steer away from it, because they don't typically specify whether it's corn or wheat derived. They just say it may be corn or wheat derived. So if you have a high sensitivity to wheat, you need to steer clear of that. Soy sauce powder. And this is what I've done research on, a popular kids little chip packet. It's a chicken little kids particular brand, and this is what's in it. Like, there's so many ingredients, it's just crazy. So soy sauce powder, soy sauce, I'm not sure if you know or are aware, but that is also derived from wheat typically. When I was very intolerant to wheat products, I went and found a wheat-free soy sauce. They call it gluten-free wheat. Gluten-free. So it's really high in sodium. So it's very, very salty. So you don't need much of it. But if you've got a soy sauce powder in a processed product, then it's made from wheat. So if you've got a sensitivity again to wheat, you might need to stay clear of that. Okay, so what else is in this? We have, spices, flavors, herbs. I mean, that's all they advertise them as, but we don't really know what they are. So if you're sensitive to any herbs and spices, and they don't stipulate exactly what they are, then you need to stay clear of anything that's got those things in it. And flavors, what are flavors? Well, typically it's just from all the processing of all the crap that they put in the food, that it just makes a flavor. It's just an added flavor, and we don't know where it comes from or what it actually is. So I would steer clear of that. And you probably heard of whey powder. Now, whey, as in WHEY, that's a byproduct of cheese, and typically it has the whey protein and lactose. So if you're lactose intolerant, you're very sensitive to lactose, anything that's got whey powder in it, you might need to stay clear of that. And see, this is the thing. So you could be eating all these products that you're unaware, and you've got a gut ache, whatever, you're feeling so crappy, and you're constantly going to the doctor and you're not really getting any joy from it. This is what you've got to strip back to what you're actually putting into your mouth. So whey powder, you probably wouldn't even know that it had lactose in it. So I'm telling you, it has. So maltodextrin it's typically a corn product, but it's found in so many things. Like, you have a look at all your even hot chips, frozen chips. Well, if they're frozen and then they're hot, well, they'll still have maltodextrin. Frozen chips, and look, I'm not saying all of them, and this is why you have to look at the ingredients list, because you will see that some don't have these products. Just depends on which brand you're buying. So, maltodextrin, that hash browns, and all of those frozen products, all of those, many frozen products may have maltodextrin in them. So that's a corn product. So I'm just looking at my notes, but it's maltodextrin it's really highly processed, and it's just part of that high processed food that can change your gut bacteria. I know that. If I eat a lot of processed food, and when I talk processed food, like take out Chinese and have beer and stuff like that, and I don't eat fresh food, I have a gut ache, so it changes your gut bacteria. And what if we've since learned that our gut is our second brain? So you feel crap in the gut, you just feel foggy and crap everywhere, don't you? I mean, I know I do. So that's maltodextrin. What else do we have? We have salt. Did I talk about salt? We have salt, onion powder. They're all okay for you, but they may have that caking agent in them. So the caking agent is just it does affect your gut. So unless you really know what's in your food, and what you're eating, and it's not just in your food, but unless you really know what is in your food, it may be creating an illness in your body. And it could be just as simply as changing what you eat to create a better health in your body. And it's just a starting point. Okay, it's a starting point. So for me, it was a starting point. It had to be, because everything I ate was making me very unwell. So then it starts with food, and then it goes on from there. Then you look at what you're putting on your body, what you're soaking in the bath. All of these things, and you don't realize, can be creating your ill health. And it's not a simple process. Like when you're first starting out and you're looking at stuff, it takes time. It used to take me ages to go shopping. It really did. And sometimes, even now, I can't even buy stuff. I think, oh, bugger it, I'll just buy this, and I pick it up and I look at the ingredients and I just put it back. I don't eat as clean as what I used to eat. There's times where I, eat so much crap that I don't feel too flash. But there's so much stuff that I refuse to even buy, and there's so much stuff. Yeah, people call me fussy. Well, that's because I know what it can do to my body. Okay, I know my body very well, and when you start eliminating some of the food stuffs from your body, you will understand your body too. When it's so toxic and you've got lots of stuff going on with it, you'll have no idea what's affecting you and what's not. I literally had to take everything out of my diet because everything I ate made me cook, as in I had chronic stomach pains. I used to be on the floor, bent over in pain, and when I was diagnosed with Crohn's and they gave me medication, oh my God, it made me even worse. So so that's why I went to food. I know in my book, I believe I wrote at one stage I just was eating plain chips and plain chocolate because that was the only thing that didn't make me feel crap. So if you have a look at, plain chips, all you've got is typically potatoes, salt, and oil. Okay, when you start looking at flavored chips, that's when you have lots of numbers, and they can be quite detrimental to your health. So one thing that I do want to talk about is MSG. So I'll go to the Chemical Maze app, because this is a goodie, MSG. It's number 635. I know that. It's off the top of my head because this is the one that used to create chaos in my body when I was in my early 20s, before I even, got diagnosed with Crohn's in, 10, 12, 15 years later, whatever it was. It was at typically it was at the Chinese restaurants. Okay. Every time I ate at a Chinese restaurant, I would be doubled over in pain and like really severe abdominal pain. I'd start, feeling hot, getting not headachy, but just feeling hot and just feel like passing out. Like I needed to lie down all the time. It was really uncomfortable. As soon as it started to happen, I just had to get home because it was just embarrassing. So that's on the chemical maze app. If you put in 635, it's called disodium 5 ribonucleotides. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's chemical. So this is the first thing that Bill has written, put in here for MSG. It's banned in some countries. It may be animal derived. It's a mixture of sodium salts, of guanilic and inosinic acids, which doesn't make any sense to me. But the fact is, the alert for me, and the risk level is it's a little red face, so it's best avoided, is banned in some countries. If you look at some of the things that Australia have in their products, you'll see that in the European countries, they've banned them. So that rings alarm bells for me. Like, why are we having them still in our products when other countries have banned them? And also, like I said earlier, the any product that is banned from the infants also rings alarm bells to me, there's a lot. So going to the chemical maze app for the monosodium glutamate 635, and there's other numbers. Like when you get used to this, all the sixes are basically the same sort of like they'll be flavor enhancers, and they're in a lot of packaged foods, especially like if you look at chicken flavored products, because there's no chicken in chicken flavored products, but you'll have 635 or 621 in them. So the potential effects of 635, and this is in a popular child's processed chippy packet. It's not chips as such, but it's something like that. So the potential effects of this are allergic reactions, behavioural problems. Oh my God, really? Behavioural problems, headache, heart palpitations, prohibited in foods for infants, and should be avoided by asthmatics and people with gout or kidney disease. You can have swelling of lips and tongue and unbearably itchy rash. Okay, so possible uses, and what I've said earlier, it's in food. Flavoured chips, instant noodles, packet or canned soup, party pies and stock cubes. So in the instant noodles, I used to buy my kids noodles. I won't mention the brand. Noodles, you add water, and they come with the little packets of little packets of spices that you add. So if you ask my children now if they remember, they probably would. I used to let them have the noodles, but I would throw the packets out, and I would say they're not allowed to have the packets. So they hated me for that. But I know, what it does to, I knew what it did to me, and I could see that could have the same potential effects on my children. So I didn't let them have it. So I was a horrible mum. So because MSG could be derived from animals, if you're a vegetarian or particularly a vegan, you won't want to go anywhere near that number. So effects on the body, gastrointestinal system and liver and kidneys. And that is what I said to you before. When I had that, I used to be doubled over in pain, holding my stomach. It was hideous. So the behavioural problems is one that is highlighted there for me as well. So if you're giving your child all these products that have MSG in them, particularly 635, they're going to have behavioural problems. Take it out of their diet and see what happens. You know, this is just an elimination of stuff. If your child's climbing the walls, what have they eaten? What have you given them? Look at the ingredients. And I get that you probably don't know what they are. So that's why I'm here explaining them to you now. So 621, so just go back a little bit. With the numbers, they're all categorized. So all the ones will be basically the same sort of category. All the 2s, 3s, 4s, they're all similar categories. So all the 6s are flavor enhancers. The 3s are the 2s are preservatives. I used to know them all off by heart. I can't remember them all now, but the 3s are what are the 3s? What are the 3s? Food acids, you know, and you'll probably find them in bread and all that. So they're all sort of categorized. So if you come across the 6, so it's a flavor enhancer, and flavor enhancers are typically all very similar. So steer clear of them if you want. You don't have to. I'm just advising you. So there's a 621, which is another monosodium glutamate. It's made from sugar beet molasses. It's got wheat in it. So again, if you've got a wheat intolerance or a celiac, you won't want to go near any product that has got 621 in it. And it's a flavor enhancer. Best avoid it. It can cause similar effects to what the 635, and it can be. This is an interesting one though. So this can be in. We've got here found in over 10,000 foods. So it can be in malt extract. So this is how manufacturers can be tricky. Instead of saying it's 621, it could be called malt extract, gelatin, and yeast extract. So typically yeast extract are some form of MSG. So I sort of steer clear of them. And hydrolyzed protein. Hydrolyzed protein sounds all good and well, but it's an MSG product. Seasoning. See, if you have seasonings in your processed food, like that's why I say about the spices and all that, it's nothing stipulated exactly what it is. So you want to look at the worst case scenario, that's probably not what I want to feed my body. So you just steer clear of it. And soy sauce. So it's just very interesting to have the Chemical Maze app. And like I said, Bill and I had a big conversation about it in one of the earlier podcasts. You will see Bill Statham. I think it's called The Chemical Maze. The name of the podcast, I'm not 100% sure now because it was a long time ago. But I will put the link to the Chemical Maze app in this podcast. So I guess on that note, just looking at some of the other things that I have written down here, the thing that I want to talk about with the oils and other things that may be in the processed food, it's just the processing of how those oils are done, like how they've been extracted. You know, so for example, if you see cold pressed virgin olive oil or something, it just means that all those olives have just been pressed and they haven't had a lot of heat. They haven't been processed under heat, which, you know, kills all the goodness. So they've still got the goodness there. Whereas with some of the other oils that are in the processed foods, they've had a chemical solvent that they've used to process that away from the plant. And that chemical solvent, even though it may not be there may not be anything left in the actual food. We don't know. Like what we get told and what's actually true is often completely different things. So if you've got, again, a very high sensitivity to certain chemicals, and realistically, you want to stay away from processed food, full stop. Okay, you just go around the edge of the supermarket, typically, and just make sure that you look at everything that's in your food. And just thinking then, when I was going around the edge, I was sort of, pointing my finger, I got to the deli in the supermarket. Now, in many of the processed meats are nitrates, and they can have a very similar effect as preservatives. Well, they are actually another preservative. So they bacon, nitrates. So if you ever see nitrate free, that's what that is. It's that preservative free. Because again, you could have, suffer migraines from having it and just think that you've got a problem with, having migraines and taking medication all the time. I mean, it can't be that simple, just eliminating things from your diet. So it's not easy to start with, but once you start looking at, the labels, it's the ingredient list. And the ingredient lists are getting smaller. They're getting smaller, so they're getting more difficult to see. But once you learn what they are, then you just avoid that product and you go into another one. And you'll find that over time, well, like me, I buy the same products all the time. But then I do have a look-see to see if they've changed some ingredient in them, just to make sure. Because sometimes they can do, little sneaky things like that, just for fun. So, so over time, once you work out what's on the ingredients and what they are, then you can avoid them and go on to something that's got less ingredients in them. And that's what I want to tell you too, is you just look at the ones with the lesser ingredients. And, you just do it little bit by little bit. I mean, and the worst thing that you can do is go and clean out everything, throw everything out of your pantry. Well, I believe this is the worst thing you can do, because it's just too overwhelming. Okay. And then we start to get overwhelmed and anxiety and stress all creep in. And that's really not good for us, because it just exacerbates anything that may be going on in our body anyway. So I'm signing off now because I've talked way too long, but I really hope that this has been a contribution to you, because I'm not here to tell you what to eat. I'm not here to tell you that everything that's going on with you is food related and this will, fix everything. I'm here to educate you on what is actually in the food that may be creating the simple hyperactivity in our children, or that simple gut ache, or that simple headache, or that eye problem. If I drink a crap load of beer, the next morning I can hardly see. And is this where the term, and what's the term, beer eyes or whatever it comes from? I mean, and yet if I don't, I'm as clear as in the morning. So that's what happens to me. So it may be happening to you too. So it's just, our bodies are amazing. They heal. You cut yourself, it heals. So we need to have the right information, really. And I mean, there's lots of information out there. What's true and what's not. Well, I know what's true is that there's things in our food, in the processed food, that are making us sick. That's the truth. So you really need to educate yourself on what you are putting into not only your body, but your children's bodies, because it's very saddening. Young children are getting diagnosed and sort of getting a little bit outcasted when they realize, and it's not good. It's not good. So hopefully this has been a contribution, and I've got a DB8 event coming up on Tuesday the 30th of May that you really would hate to miss out on, because it's amazing. It's going to be fun. So until then, I'll put the link to the Chemical Maze app in this, and hopefully you'll start looking at the ingredients in the processed food that you're buying and try to eliminate some of those things for you and your family to create more ease in your life. So thank you for listening, and I will see you next time I decide to do a podcast. Okay, bye.